Hello everyone. Good day, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, whatever. Um, Today I'm gonna make a short video on the types of Duiten that you can encounter and some of the varieties that that you can also encounter and the types of issuers. So today I will only handle these eight here and the VOC issued out and some of the issuers that are of provenance. So we'll start with the region of Gelderland, and what you notice is that they have a lot of city issuers. I'm still not sure why they had this, but later on in the lives, so around the mid 1600s to late 1600s, these all kind of faded away and they stopped really producing coins. So I will not handle these. But this one is actually kind of a different story. This one was, I will show you, this is a coin that was issued in 1819. And basically, long story short, we had a shortage of copper coins around the 1820s. So a shopkeeper in the country, I'm not exactly sure where he was located, but a shopkeeper actually imported coins from Germany and against the will and power of the Dutch law, he gave them away as change and like shop tokens. So these are actually German coins, but in Dutch catalogs they're actually referenced under the name Blijensteinse Duit, which Blijenstein was the name of the shopkeeper that issued these. So to the province of Gelderland, the history goes way back to, well, the first recorded mintmaster was in 1254 AD in the city of Arnhem, which today is also the capital of Gelderland. And later on, you can see the mintmasters change location, and well, yeah, they changed location a lot. But the coins were generally produced in the central spot. They changed over time, but later on they stayed in the same place. So I will not handle these Spanish Netherlands issues like these because I don't know much about them. So I'll just go to the ones issued after the Spanish Netherlands. So in the Republic. Now this is the. I'll see if I can find a better photo. There you go. This is the shield, the weapon or the coat of arms of Gelderland. It is a shield with a crown on top with two lions separated by a central line with the text. Let's see if I can find it there. In Deo Espe Nos, which means our hope in the Lord. And every province had a different coat of arms and also a different text around them, and also different min marks, of course, because every Duit basically was at one point produced basically anywhere throughout the country. And what's also generally the rule is how later on they were made in the life of the Republic, the more common they get. So that's also one thing to remember. Now, one thing I should address is you tend to see 1702 as a really common date in Duiten. Well, the thing is, in 1702, there was a law dictating that the copper coins in the country, just any copper, should be heavier. So, and generally the Duiten, because that was the only real copper coins we made, plus, of course, the occasional double Duit and the half Duit. But those should be heavier because issuers throughout the history, especially the city states that you see here, and also some other various issuers like this one, Stevensweert, Gronsveld, Breda, Maastricht, they all made coins in different weights. And what happened to that is inequality of the actual exchange value. Because not too long ago I was reading a piece in a book from the same maker as this website, which I'll put a link in the description to, that between the province of Holland and Utrecht there was a kind of dispute because the exchange rates for their money, for the copper money, was not equal. And this was shortly after the independence of the Netherlands in 1587. And later on, it called for the standardization of our copper money. They also standardized our silver money a bit later in the, or sorry, a bit earlier in the late 1600s. But I won't get on that today. So let's get back. So you see, from 1702 on, the design gets pretty standard. It gets pretty, how should I say? Yeah, it gets pretty bland after. You have the abbreviation Gelre, which is just Old Dutch for Gelderland or Gelre, and from so on and so on. You see little design changes such as a mint mark. I'll see if I can get the photo open right here. The little mint marks change. This is the mint. It's a bit bad to see, but it's the mint mark of a little dog. And later on, they changed a lot of the mint marks, depending on, of course, the mint master around. Um, so it really depended. And these types, the ones that I'm going to show you now, for Gelderland, these are the most common that you will find. The one with the half kind of relief around, of course, with the star, the star, or the rosette, sorry, and a mid mark of a crane. This is the most common type that you will find, along with later issues. Since, like I said, later on in the life of the Republic, the coins get more common and common. So coins like these, let's see if I can highlight it here. Coins like these are also really common. I personally don't like them. I don't like the design on the left side of the coin. I don't like the reef, or how do you call it, around the text and the date. It's just ugly in my opinion, but a really common coin nonetheless, and also a really cheap one if you want to do a set of all provinces. And later on you see just the types get more kind of more ugly and ugly, and then later on they start making it up to about the French invasion, which would come in 1795 if I'm correct, and that's when they basically stopped producing coins forever. Later on, after that, after the French, well, actually during the French invasion, all the mints, all the regional mints, actually got wrapped up, and Napoleon, well, actually Ludwig Napoleon, his brother, decided that the central mint should be located in Utrecht, which I'll also cover a bit later on. And one thing that I'll show you as well is that you have silver strikes of Duiten. These coins were NIFC, and the reason being is that much like the 10 guldens, the gold ones, they were actually made as like more ceremonial types of coins, like more gifts. They were gifts for wealthy people. So they never saw circulation, so 90% of the time they will be in really good condition, but they also be really expensive. I'll see if I can get a photo of one of mine. Let's see, since about half a year ago, I bought one for actually a really good price. Let's see if I can find it here. Here it is. It's an Utrecht issue. Silver Duit. It has some scratches on the obverse, or sorry, the reverse, but generally it's a really nice coin. And these are the types of, this is generally the condition, or like the bottom line of condition that you will find. Usually they'll be way nicer than this. And also the cable edge that you will see around here, the reeded edge, is also a really important factor when deciding the value of these coins. But a bit off topic, let's get back to Gelderland. So this is one of the older producing or coin producing regions of the country. Um, so in general, they made nice coins, but not my favorite. But they're one of the most common ones that you will see around. So that was basically it for Gelderland. I won't handle, like I said, I won't handle these city states since later on, well, up to 1702, they generally didn't make any coins under their own name anymore. So it's going to be too long to handle all of these. So let's get to Holland, the place where I actually live, and also well, actually the most important region in the Republic. Holland was not only the seat of the government, it was also the seat or the place where the capital was, the place where the most people lived, and the place where the most trade happened. And also in Holland, the first ever stock market was located, where people could buy shares of the Dutch East India Company and sell them for profit, as any stock market would work. Now, here it handles a bit in the history of Holland. Now it talks about the oldest mint house of Holland, which was called Rijnsburg, which in the early 11th century, Penningen, which is the predecessor of the Oord, that is the predecessor of the Duit. It's a medieval domination that was never used in the Republic anymore. Where they struck silver Penningen under Duke Dirk IV. And later on, the mint changed to here Leiden, Vlaardingen, Middelburg, which is actually in Zeeland. But the most important mint house was Dordrecht, which already was producing coins in the medieval eras and also struck provincial coins. Dordrecht was also the most important and by volume the largest coin producer in the United Seven Provinces, and it also lasted for a really long time. And I think, yeah, I've been there as well, and it's a cafe nowadays, but the original building still stands. So, like I said, I won't handle the Spanish Netherlands issuers, although I will handle one because that's one I actually have, which is this one. Now, in the Spanish Netherlands, you had a coin called an Oord, and an Oord is like I said a minute ago, was the predecessor of the Duit. Um, and just before the actual independence of the Netherlands, which was in 1578, Dordrecht issued an emergency issue Oord, which looked like this, minus 1576. I don't actually have a true view myself of it, but this is the type that it is. And the city of Dordrecht made this as an emergency issue. I'm not exactly sure why they made it as an emergency issue. I think they just had a shortage of copper in general, but don't quote me on that. And it's actually so far my only Spanish Netherlands coin that I own, which is still really nice. And in general, it's one of the more quote unquote easy Spanish Netherlands coins to get for cheap, since it's not too rare. And also one thing I should note is even though we were in the 80s war, this coin still had, or actually was issued under the name of Philips, so the Spanish king that ruled over the Netherlands. And right here on the left side of the coin it says Kom Holland zet Zeeland, which roughly translates to Duke or King or ruler of Holland and Zeeland, because in the Spanish Netherlands that was sort of one entity at the time, and something which I'll also handle later when I get to the actual province of Zeeland. The Zeeland that makes New Zealand new. So, right here we have the actual first coin that was issued, um, um, not under the rule of the Spanish in Holland, which is this one. This was made around the late 1500s, so look around 1590. And this is also where we see the same coat of arms as on the Orden, a woman in a field with a fence around it, and just Hollandia in a reef, which is something that was discontinued later on in the of course after 1702. It's just said Hollandia with a rosette mid mark above it, which indicated that it was made in Dordrecht. And in general, I think this is a really nice coin design. Actually, you can see above the word Dom here, you can actually see a rosette, which of course, like I said, indicated that it was minted in Dordrecht. This is a really nice design in my opinion, and it's still one that I really want later on, but I haven't found one yet for a good price. Now, of course, you will see this is also a silver strike of a later issue of the same design, which is also a really nice example. This one is in the collection of the Dutch National Bank. This specimen, and later on you see the woman in the garden and the fence right here. This would later be changed to a lion with a stick with a hat on it, which I don't really know what it means. I'm still reading up on that, so don't quote me on it. But in general, again, a rosette midmark to the top right of the woman sitting in the fence, and of course Hollandia in the reef. Generally a really great coin, and some were struck in silver, some weren't, so it really depends on the type that you are looking at. So this one here that I'm going to show you is the most common one that you will find. This is the, like I just said, they removed the reef, so just at Hollandia, and then the date under it, and then the rosette mint mark on top of it. Plus, as mentioned as well, they changed the woman in the garden to a lion in the garden with a stick and a hat. I think the hat represents freedom, but like I said, don't quote me on that. And like mentioned as well, 1702 is the year that our copper coins were forced to be heavier. So 1702 is actually a year which a lot of coins are made generally in over the whole country, especially Holland, which made the most in 1702, if I'm correct. And it's one of the most common years that you will find for a Holland issue Duit. Now these were also made in silver. Let's see if I can. Yeah, here is one. And there's also made some in gold, which I'll also show you. So here is a silver strike, which you will see the nice rated edge is still left, which, like I said, also is a really big factor on the value, and generally just a really good coin in silver. Now these are readily available online. Silver Duiten. Sometimes you find them graded in details, and sometimes you'll find them raw. But keep in mind that they can be pretty expensive. A raw one, the bottom price is about 50 to 70 bucks, and graded they can go for a couple hundred easily. So it's not weird to see them that expensive. Now here, like I said, I will show you is an actual gold strike. Gold struck Duiten were made way less than the silver strikes. So these are way more rare and scarce than the silver strikes, but they are still really nice. This one again is in the numismatical collection of the Dutch National Bank, and I want this coin, but I don't really have the money for it. So, but I still want it. So let's continue on. Here are some more restrikes in silver and gold, and also an incuse design, which I don't know if they classify this as an error or just an actual variety, but nonetheless, an also really cool coin to look at. Also in the collection of the Dutch National Bank. Now let's continue on of the tons and tons of varieties and known strikes of the 1702 and onward type. You also have overdates. Overdates on these coins are not too rare. Well, not too rare, I'll say not that rare. The quality control at that time was not great. Let's put it that way. And so you see a lot of rotated overstrikes, or just rotated strikes, or weak strikes, overdates, weird design quirks. That's just a factor of bad quality control at the time, and just the quantity that they were pumping out at that time. Now here you also see a couple of design changes that were made. Um, these were more like patterns actually. I don't know if they're actually classified as patterns, but I'm guessing they are patterns. Here's an example with a swan in a cage with the hat. Basically just this, but with a swan. Here's one with a lion and a sword and a hen. Also a really nice design, but they never actually issued it. Let's see. And these are also just more weird varieties that were found over the years. So this is the last real type that we made in Holland. This type lasted from 1702 all the way to the 1790s, which was of course, up to the invasion of the French Republic. And is also, after the coin production of Ludwig Napoleon, the last coins that Holland ever made. And also the last coins that Dordrecht ever made as a mint itself. Because like I said, later the regional mints would be substituted for a central mint in the city of Utrecht, which is more central in the country. Now I won't go over these cities. These cities didn't make a lot of coins. The city of Gorkum is a city in the east of Holland, and Leiden and Delft are cities that are near The Hague, so a bit more to the west of the province. I won't go over these, since they didn't make a lot of coins. They're cool, but they're not really of provenance, and you don't see them a lot, so I won't handle them. Now we will go to the province of West Friesland. This is actually really neat, because it's a province that doesn't exist anymore. although the people living there still refer to the region as West Friesland, also referred to as West Frisia. It's a region that is now in the north of Holland. Basically, you have the actual province of Friesland, and then you have a little peninsula sticking out of the province of North Holland, which the people there still call West Frisia. Now, this it had two mints, two general mints, which were Hoorn and Enkhuizen, the latter one being the more prominent one, which also produced more coins. And Enkhuizen is a city that is located in the east of West Frisia, so it's bordering the IJsselmeer. Now, generally, again, these types are ones that I don't know much of. But West Frisia was, along with Holland and Zeeland, also a really big coin producer, and also had a really nice coat of arms, in my opinion. The West Frisia coat of arms is on the left, somewhere struck in Dordrecht, so you will see a rose at midmark. West Frisië, 1702, which again is a really common year for these, with a crown shield with lions surrounded, two lions surrounded by cubes. I don't know what these cubes represent, but it kind of reminds me of the coat of arms of England with the three lions and the cubes around it. I don't know if they have any resemblance to each other, but that's kind of what it makes me think of. Now, like I said, if they weren't struck in Dordrecht, they were either struck in Hoorn or Enkhuizen, and Enkhuizen was the more common mint. So let's see if we can get a better picture of an actual coin here. There you go. Like I said, the crown shield with a reef around it and two lions. And you can see this one has a rose at midmark above the word West, indicating that this one was actually struck in the city of Dordrecht. Now this happened a lot. You would see a coin issued under a regional authority that was struck somewhere else. I will get over this when I get to the province of the province of Groningen, which has a fun but weird and interesting story about it. So I won't get too off topic now. I'll get back to these. And over the years, they made small design changes. You also have some hybrid variants, which have two obverses on it. This is actually really cool. These are really expensive, and good luck finding one of these because they are really, really rare. West Friesland also made silver issues. I'll see if I can find a picture of one of them. There you go. Here is a silver strike. And one of the things that is kind of weird or off-putting with these type of coins is that either the silver ones can look like copper, or the copper ones can look like silver. The color changes a lot on these, from a bit of like a metallic color to a dark brown chocolate kind of copper color. So looking at shitty eBay photos, you could think you have a silver one, but it could just be a really common copper issue. So that's one thing to keep in mind when buying these, and which is also one thing that I almost fell for. So here it's discussing the different types of shields. I actually don't know the real difference between these type of shields, other than there's a hole in it. If you know, you know. And later on, West Frisia also made coins up to the invasion of the French, like most provinces did, of course. And also after the French invaded, Hoorn and Enkhuizen stopped producing coins completely. This is the last type that they ever made, which is also a pretty common type. Sorry, that's a year. See if I can get a normal one. There you go. This is the most common one that you'll find. Generally just, of course, in again a rosette, indicating that it was, of course, meant Dordrecht, West Frisia, 1780, and the same shield with a wreath, with a crown, and two lions with some cubes around it. Generally, one of my more favorite coat of arms that was produced in the Republic. Although it's the Holland one is my favorite. It's just bias, really. My bad. But this is again a really nice type of coat of arms that they made for this region. Now they didn't make a lot of different types, but in general they made some of the nicer coins, in my opinion. Now let's go to Zeeland. Like I said, the Zeeland that makes New Zealand new. Zeeland was, after Holland, the most important region, since a lot of trade was also based there. There was also a lot of docks there, which housed trading ships. And of course, the Mint of Middelburg was also a really big producer of coins. Later on, also for the VOC, since VOC Duiten from Zeeland are also the second most common after Holland. Now, I showed you the one from Holland before that looked a lot like this one. Holland and Zeeland were at one point ruled under one entity, like I said, under the Spanish King Philip, and up to Dutch independence, and also a bit after that, if I'm correct. They ruled under one entity, so it usually says ruler or a king or emperor of Holland and Zeeland. Now, on these coins, after 1600 or so, they didn't contain these anymore. But let's see if I can get an example where it says that, since it's a good comparison. I don't actually think they are in here. Let's see. Nah, I don't think it's in here. But like I said, it was ruled as one entity. But later on, Zeeland split from Holland and they became separate entities in general. Now, coins produced here are also really common, and as a mint mark, they have a small tower. Let's see if I can get a good photo of that. It doesn't really translate as like a castle, but I just see it as a castle. It's more like a small tower. That here you go. I'm just gonna open these. Nope, wrong button. Just gonna open this. And here you see on the left side is a small castle tower, which was the mint mark of Middelburg up until the French invaded. Zeelandia, which is Old Dutch, of course, for Zeeland, and a lion in the water, which is actually it's the coat of arms for Zeeland, and the water is the meaning behind it is that Zeeland often is a substitute for flooding, since it's a well, nowadays it's well protected, but back in the day it's a bunch of islands that are stuck to the country, and they used to flood a lot. So that's the main factor, and also surrounded by Luctor et Emergo, which roughly translates to I fight and I rise, which is also really cool in my opinion. Generally, a really cool coin, and also like I said, the second most common issuer that you will find in the later stages of the Republic. Now these were of course also struck in silver, as you can see here. I have yet to see a silver one from Zeeland for sale, so I do not know if they're actually more rare than Holland issued ones or Utrecht issued ones, which are also kind of common. But like I said, don't really quote me on that. Now, going through the years, the designs stay relatively the same, um, like most coins did at this era. And let's see. All right, and this is also the last major design change that you will see. Instead of having a text like this, just Zeelandia, they went for this, which is not ugly in my opinion, but it's not that great again. And this is the last major design change it did before for a couple of issues. I think they referred back to the older design, which I will show you in a minute. Let's see, so let's just scroll down a bit. Yeah, so this is the design that we just went over. Also struck in silver, and also some incused designs known, like these, which is also just genius in my opinion. I don't know why they did this, and I've yet to see one for sale, but in my opinion, it's just one of the coolest kinds of errors that were created here. And of course, a silver strike as a non-circulating coin. Like I said, these the silver issues that you will find in usually a really good condition. So don't worry about seeing them in a really shit condition. So like I said, they referred back to the older design that they used, style-wise. They of course went for a dotted edge and the same kind of obverse with the shield and the crown and the Latin text around it. So this is the last real coin that they made. They made one type after this, which I'll get to in a minute. But this is the last real issue they made, and this issue also under Numista. This falls under the Batavian Republic, which is kind of it's not really accurate because the Republic was made in 1795, and these were issued from 92 until 97. So basically, the French invaded in 1794, created the Republic in 1795, and the rest is history. So that's kind of weird that these fall under the French or the Batavian Republic. But then again, that's just Numista being weird. Now this is the last coin that they made, and there's a fun story about these. There's two things wrong with this coin. So yeah, of course the livre, which was a French type of denomination, like you see, made in 1795. So this was the first year of the actual republic itself. Now you see here 2.5 stuiver, an eighth of a livre. Now the first thing that you will notice is this is written wrong. It says livre instead of livre. That's the first error that they made. And the second error is that 2.5 stuiver is actually a quarter livre. An eighth lire would be half of this, so 1.125 stuiver, which is also a thing that they did wrong. So this coin was quickly pulled from circulation after they made an unknown amount to me. And after that, the Batavian Republic coins started flowing in and they started circulating. And like I said, this is the last coin that they ever made. And after this, they just stopped producing coins completely. After they moved the mint to Utrecht, which we'll get to now actually. Utrecht is still the mint of the Netherlands today, where the central mint is located. Still produce the euro coins, still produce the old gulder coins, and so on and so on. They have been the official mint of the Netherlands since around 1911, but have been producing coins since Napoleon. Since in the early 1900s, Queen Wilhelmina got a ceremony going where the Utrecht mint was considered the official mint of the Netherlands. Now the coin producing history of this region goes way back to the Duchy of Utrecht, which later on, which I'll handle, the city of Groningen actually got gifted to the Bishop of Utrecht, which is how the city of Groningen also got created, which is what I will get to later. And Utrecht was one of the most volume-wise, one of the most, or I should say, the largest coin producing region. Utrecht also made a lot of Duiten for the Dutch East India Company. They actually made more of those than they actually did themselves for the province, if I'm correct. And the most common ones you will find are, of course, the 1702 type. And also a really common year for these is 1739, which, if I'll get a silver strike with it, this is the one I showed you earlier on, is silver strike. Also one of the most common in 1739, also copper, like this. Also a really nice coin. Also with the copper ones, might I add, the cable edge is a big discerning factor for a value. The more is left of a copper edge, the more its value starts to rise. Not by a huge factor sometimes, but still extra value nonetheless. Now let's see if I can get a picture of a gold strike as well, which I cannot dig up here, but strikes, there were a lot of strikes known in gold and also a lot in silver. Utrecht made one of the more, or made the more types in silver, so that automatically makes them the most common ones to find as a silver strike. And after that you'll find common ones like Holland as the second most common. Now Utrecht didn't make any real major design changes over the years. They kept the general design, like shown here, a shield with 2 lions around it, and Stad Utrecht, which translates to the city of Utrecht. Now they made coins up to the early 1790s, and a couple years before the French really, got their invasion going, they already stopped producing coins. Now the copper ones are here usually found the latest ones that you can find are from the early 1790s as shown here. But a really common year is 1790, and the reason being is that later on in the 1840s we had a copper coin shortage for the East Indies. So what the Dutch government decided is that they would use the old dies of the Utrecht Duit coins and produce coins with those to substitute the shortage of coinage that we had in the colonies. So if you find one in really nice condition, it's probably struck in the 1840s or just a really well preserved 1790s type. But there's no really discerning factor that really sets the two apart from condition. So that's one thing to look out for. Now they were only produced under the 1790 date. So this one. Now this looks like a 1790 because it has some good wear and tear to it. The 1840s were struck with actual machines. So, the strike quality goes up and the general quality of the coins as well just rises exponentially. Now, there's nothing really special about the designs that they made, just the fact that they just kept the designs in general and struck coins later on for, to substitute the coin shortage, like I just mentioned. Now, the province of Friesland, or also known as Frisia, didn't really make a lot of coins. Frisia was historically one of the first actual regions of the Netherlands. Frisia also had one of the first actual trading cities in the Netherlands called Dorestad, which, if you look at coins from the 11th century, I think it's around the 11th, or no, actually, I think around the 7th or 8th century AD, you would find coins minted there. And it was, like I said, it was one of the first actual trading cities in what is now the modern Netherlands. And later on, they made some really cool issues like this one. This is a double duit or an ord. You can see a knight with a sword here. And the Frisian coat of arms, which is relatively similar to the West Frisian coat of arms, might I add. And excuse the zooming in of the page, it doesn't separate me zooming in a photo versus this page, which is kind of shit. So just scrolling down through the various early 1600s designs, which stayed relatively the same. Now, there's one issuer called Reckheim, which for their design of the coins also used something similar to Frisia, like shown here. That's often a factor for them to get confused with one another, so that's one thing to keep in mind. But like I said, the coat of arms is really similar to the one from West Frisia, as you can see here. 2 lions, 5 cubes, and a crowned shield around it. Now they weren't the same entity, but still produced a similar coat of arms. Now this region, the design changes didn't really change a lot. The more prominent coins are the silver ones, like the toestuivers or the daalders, but I won't get into them today. And over the years they produced some types of coins, but they stopped later on because I'm not sure, but I think they just started using coins from other provinces as well. One thing I might add as well for Friesland before I move on is like Zeeland and some other provinces, they had a couple of denominations which were actually not legal tender in the rest of the country. So they had basically daalders under the name Schelling. And the Schelling was another word for a 6-stuiver piece. So 6 stuivers was around a third of a gulder. And they denominated their coins as, like I said, in Schelling. And Schellingen were not legal tender in places like Holland, Gelderland, and places like Utrecht. So later on, with the standardization of our coins in 1702 and the late 1690s, that kind of faded away, and the coinage started getting more even and more general over the country. Now, the third to last one that I'll handle today is the actual province of Groningen. Now, Groningen is a province that is next to Frisia, and it's in the northeast of the country. It's bordering Germany. And Groningen, uh, before the law of 1702 with the standardization of our coins, they made, like everybody else, made their Duiten in a different weight, like shown here. This is an example of one. Let me just enlarge it. That's kind of a bad photo. Let me see. There you go. They made their coins in a different way than everybody else. But when the law of 1702 came around, they just refused to make the coins at that weight. So the States General either said, you just make the coins like we say you have to make them, or just stop making coins. And instead of choosing the smart way, actually producing coins with the new weight, which would have been really cool, they didn't. Now this is so for about almost 100 years, they didn't produce any coins up to the 1770s, which I also have an example from, which I'll show you, which is this one. And these were actually not produced in Groningen, but these were produced in a mint in another state. I think it was either the state of Overijssel or the state of Gelderland, but I'm not sure on that. And they produced this coin, and this was also the last coin bearing that name as well, which also was kind of sad because their earlier designs, of course according to the coin law of 1702, would have been really nice and would have been looking really nice as well. So to show you, here is my example of this one. On the coat of arms, you will see the crown shield with the logo of Friesland, which is the stripes with the hearts in it, and the eagle with the shield on it. Now, on the right it says Groen en Ommel, which translates to Groningen and surrounding counties. It's a bit of a rough translation. Now, the region of Groningen and Ommeland was a region that today actually had land area in the modern day Groningen, the province of Friesland, and also the province of Drenthe, which are both all three bordering each other almost, and hence why you see the Frisian flag with the coat of arms of Groningen, which is kind of a fun thing as well. After that, they like I said, they didn't make any coins anymore, and also these two regions, or these three regions, might I add, separated and done their own thing. Now as well, just the last one for Groningen. Here is a silver strike of a Duit. Here is just to show how in what good quality they can be. Finding one of these conditions in copper, that's just really rare. You're almost not gonna find it. But in silver, like I said, it's not too rare to find a really nice condition silver Duit. And again, here's the coat of arms of the region, Friesland, Groningen, and then Groningen and Ommeland. Now after that, like I said, they didn't produce any coins anymore. The mint closed down. I'm sure the old building still stands. But it's not, they didn't make a lot of coins. Now up to the second last of the day, which is the province of Overijssel, which is actually a really fun one. So just loose of them actually producing coins under a state, they also had a thing called the Drie Steden, which the Drie Steden translates to 3 cities. And those were these 3 cities: Deventer, Kampen, and Zwolle. Now don't quote me on the entire creation of this entity, but they produced coins under these 3 names. I actually have a picture right here that I already got ready. Now here you see on the bottom half of this photo, you see Daventry, which is Old Dutch for Deventer. Now you have Kampensis, which is Old Dutch for the city of Kampen. And you have Zwollensis, which is the city of Zwolle. And if you look at these 3 coat of arms, the one with the eagle in it on the top, which is flipped, is the city of Deventer. The one with the castle on it on the bottom right is the city of Kampen. And the one with the cross on it on the left is the city of Zwolle. Might I add, Zwolle is also today's capital of the province of Overijssel. Now this entity didn't exist for a long time. They existed in the 15 and 1600s. And after the 1700s, they didn't produce any coins anymore. The entity just generally stopped existing. Now, might I add, Deventer, Kampen and Zwolle all made coins for the state of Overijssel, also as separate entities. They also made the lion daalders, the famous ones, you know, the ones from New Amsterdam, are also ones that were made in cities like Kampen, generally, because Kampen made a lot of issues for overseas. Also, Holland made lion daalders, Gelderland made them, Overijssel made them. Just generally, every province that made a lot of coins made lion daalders. Now, as well, Overijssel. I won't get into the Spanish Netherlands and earlier issues because generally I just don't know anything about them. But one coin I will grab is I think it's an earlier one. Let me see. This one here. Now this is a coin that I have right now, and I was actually really I was kind of scratching my head about it because I have a really weird type of it, and basically it was just really weird to find out what type it is because this is the first section that you have to go through. Then you have to go for this section. Then you have to go for this section, and then you have to go for this section, and then you have a type. Now, in Old Dutch and Latin as well, Overijssel was actually written as Tras Isula Nea, which is, like I said, Old Dutch for, and also I think it was actually Latin, and it just meant the state of Overijssel, and like you see, Tras Isula Nea. Now this was written different over the years. Some had a different letter, some had just a different spelling, some had a different order. But after 1702, like here with this type, you can see they started using Overijssel. And also the name actually means over the river IJssel. Since the river IJssel flows under the border of the actual province of Overijssel. Now let's just get back. After 1702, they didn't really change their designs a lot. Like you can see here, they added a reef. Before they just had a simple state name, date, and coat of arms, and generally just a really basic coin design. Now, later on, these were produced in cities like Deventer, Zwolle, and Kampen, of course. But later on, they moved to just a single city, of course. Since later on, the pins of Deventer and Kampen stopped producing coins, and also after the French Republic, they just stopped making coins in general. Now, I don't really know much about this design, but it does have a silver strike, which is really cool to show. And I've never seen this one before as well, but I want one of them. And let's see, let's just zoom back in again. There you go. And up to the French, like I said, they didn't make a lot of coin designs, or just different coin designs in general. This is the most common that you're gonna find. A simple eagle mint mark. The eagle mint mark was indicating that it was minted in the city of Deventer. And what was also weird is that under 1766, they had a small portrait of the king, or the stadholder at the time. And on the right you have the coat of arms with a crown sheet with a line, a diagonal line through the middle. Now I'm just gonna touch on the VOC coins just really quickly because there's just way too much to discuss here. VOC coins were not made before 1702. Generally the 1730s, 1720s are the ones that you're gonna see like the earliest ones from. And basically, like I said, every province made them. There's a lot of varieties in them. Too much to discuss, but in general, like we know, a VOC monogram, mid-mark, date, and just a coat of arms from the actual province itself. So I'm just going to touch on one more coin actually, which is kind of fun. And then I'll stop recording because I'm going on for 15 minutes almost. Here is a coin which I have, which is really weird. Now, here it says the Indi Batav. I'm not sure what it's translated, but it was made for Batavia, which was a city in the East Indies. And it says here 5 and 1/16. And just think, well, wait, what is that denomination? Well, it's more complicated than you think. So what it means is that 5 of these coins equal 1/16 of a guilder. So you're still not any further with the, getting a denomination. So this was a Duit. A 16th of a gulden divided by 5 was a Duit. And then you also had a 1/32 variant, which shown here is a half Duit. Now these are just confusing in general, but they're really cool coins, and I have one as well, which I'm just going to quickly show you. They're not too rare, but they're just really weird. It took me a while to figure out what it actually is. And here is mine. 1808 is generally the most common date for these, by the way. And the star was the mint mark for the mint of Enkhuizen in West Frisia, which these generally were produced, and these were only produced in West Frisia. Now that's actually it for now, because I've been yabbering on for way too long. I hope you've learned something. If not, just ping me on Discord. And with that said, I wish you all a nice day. Bye.